Welcome to the Ask a Cycling Coach podcast presented by TrainerRoad. Today, we're going to talk about some hot button issues, intermittent fasting, gaining weight, race nutrition, lots of stuff. It's all nutrition focused because we have Alex Larson with us, a registered dietitian. Welcome back for the second time, Alex. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me. This will be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah. Let's get straight into Val's question. We also have Nate and Ivy with us too. Val says, I'm fairly new to the podcast and started listening primarily to learn about nutrition. Good episode for you, Val. What I feel like I have learned is that on the bike, almost anything goes, which is easy, except I'm accustomed to not eating very much. And after listening to you guys, I realized that I'm lacking in that area and I'm trying to improve. Part of that is not being too depleted going into a ride. So I'm changing my off-the-bike nutrition. I've been doing a lot of variety and as little processed food as possible. Crazy, but in a month, I've actually gained a little bit of weight. Maybe just because I'm actually eating enough calories. I'm hoping my body regulates and I start to cut here in the next several months. Long story short, some days I find myself not very prepared for the day and don't have enough calories to get me through to my afternoon ride without being way behind. So are there any good, easy options like a protein bar I could keep in my desk at work those days? Or what is a better option in this scenario? And Val says, sorry, that was a novel. That was not a novel, Val. The novels are usually ones that I don't pick. You should see some of those ones. It's pretty long. So if you want to submit questions, you can do it at trainerroad.com/podcast. Would love to hear from you. That's how we get all the questions for this podcast. Alex, I feel like there's kind of two things that stand out to me. There's like number one, the fact that like they're gaining weight when in their mind, they're like, okay, I'm being intentional about my nutrition. So why am I gaining weight now? But then the separate thing after that we can cover in whichever order you want is what to do on those days when you're crunched for time.
Yeah. I pulled out a lot of different little mini red flags there where I was like, ooh, there's kind of a lot to unload. But like, I first would want to clarify, like, what's a little weight? Like, what is that? Is it just like a few pounds? Because sometimes when we're fueling a bit more, like you are going to have like those muscle glycogen stores that are going to be a little bit more loaded. And that's pretty normal to see, a couple of pound weight gain from that. When we have athletes do like a full carb load, we see anywhere from like 3 to 6 pounds weight gain during that process. And that's normal. And it wouldn't be something that I would be like really concerned about, just because we know then that they're loaded up in glycogen and hydration and that they're ready to go for their big training or their race. But there's usually a few different reasons why we might see some weight gain. Like any time that we change our diet, we're going to see some fluctuations, and that's pretty normal. A lot of times over time, things will just steady out. But I would say before reaching for like a protein bar at your office desk, I would first really want to assess, like, are you eating a decent breakfast? Are you eating an adequate lunch? Like making sure that you're not skipping meals. And I will die on this hill and say that coffee is not a meal in the morning and a garden salad is not a meal midday. Like I say that all the time to people, like, you need to have a meal. A meal is like carbohydrates. It's protein. It's some healthy fats. It's fruits and veggies. Like it's a meal. And like, these are the things I feel like an athlete should be focusing at first and getting really consistent at, because even if you're going to be fueling really well in those afternoon rides, if you're going into it already at a deficit, you're not going to perform well. You're not going to feel great.
Alex, when you say adequate breakfast and decent lunch, what does that mean? Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to depend on the athlete, like how much they should be eating. But, for me, when I take on an athlete, we look at what should be their total needs for the day, kind of divide it out. I divide it out by 4. So 3 meals a day and then snacks as well, and kind of giving them an idea of how much a meal should look like. And so a lot of people will have a really skimpy breakfast and they're missing out on a ton of nutrition. And then they're having to catch up the rest of the day. So like a breakfast would be, like 300, 400, 500 calories at least. If you're looking at needing even just 2,000 calories a day, like that's a good amount at each meal and snacks. So, I mean, when you look at a good sized meal, having, 20 to 30 grams of protein, having a good amount of carbs, having some micronutrients in fruits and veggies, it's just going to be a more nutritionally diverse meal. And it's going to be more filling and satisfying too. Like you're just going to feel so much better throughout the day. Your hunger is going to be better regulated. Like that is where I would focus on first, before even getting into like, can I bring up protein bar to the office.
It's hard to do sometimes to like
It is.
prioritize like a full breakfast like that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. There's things you can do, especially if you have a really busy, hectic morning. I mean, for me, I'm getting 2 kids out the door. I just put together, I had leftover scrambled eggs in the fridge. I threw them in cold into a wrap with some cheese. And I was like, you know what, I'll finish up with some fruit when I get back home, but at least I'm getting something in now real quick to like start my day.
Is there a certain macro like percentage you like for, let's say, cyclists or triathletes in the morning?
I usually don't do percentages. I usually first will kind of determine protein needs based off of weight. And then same thing with carbs. Like protein will be anywhere from like 1.2 to 1.8 grams per kilogram. Carbs, depending on the volume that they're doing, 3-4 grams of carb per kilo might be a starting point. But then if they're really in heavy training, we might be more at like 8 to 10. And then we might not be having as much protein during that. And then fat is usually anywhere from like 0.8 grams to 1 gram per kilogram. I know that sounded like a lot of jumbo mumbo right there, but like that's where I usually calculated.
Hopefully there were either things being typed into the phone or like pencil scratching on paper, because that's like, I feel like that's a much more manageable way to, so like macros are tricky. Nate, have you found this when you're trying to measure your macros and you have what you think is like this great meal, and then suddenly you're like, shoot, like the pie chart is all over the place now. It's not where I wanted it to be.
Yes, but no more. I have something secret. Keep talking and I'll show you. Did you see my post in marketing?
No, I haven't seen it this morning.
Okay.
I know. Yeah,
this is going to blow your mind. So Alex, give me a target for how many calories maybe someone like Jonathan would eat in the morning for the first meal, like 500, 600?
Jonathan, how many calories do you usually aim for in a day?
Yeah, so typically like my basal metabolic rate, I think is somewhere around 1,800 calories per day is what it looks for. And then in terms of training, I end up training somewhere around burning like 1,500 calories a day with the triathlon training that I'm doing. So I want to make sure that I cover all of that triathlon stuff, and then I cover my basal metabolic rate. So that's typically, if I'm going to set a goal, it's going to be somewhere around like just shy of 3,000 or around 3,000.
All right. So if you're shooting for 3,000, I mean, are you doing 3 meals a day?
Yeah. Yes, but also snacks.
Yeah. And snacks. So, I mean, you're looking at like 600-700 at least calories a meal to hit that.
Yep.
It's a lot of food. It's a lot of work. Like you really have to put a lot of thought into it. And so sometimes
it's way more than I thought. Like before I started, like, that's what I find. So measuring makes me neurotic, right? Like, and Marie Kondo, like it does not give joy. It takes joy. So for me, like, but it's really helpful to measure every once in a while, because what I find is that I end up losing my perspective on fueling, and I end up under fueling more often than I end up over fueling when I'm continually training like that.
Most
so it's helpful to like measure. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, wow. For breakfast, I've reverted to just taking in 350 calories. And then for lunch, I made the mistake that Alex mentioned. I had a garden salad and I had him throw in some chicken, but in the end, it was only like 450 calories. And then I did a workout that was 1,200 calories, and that was the second workout of the day. And that first one, I burned 600 calories. So it's like, geez. John? Yeah. And then at dinner, I'm like, I need popcorn. I need Nutter Butters. I need ice cream. It's like, because I feel so just deprived.
I have an athlete that calls that murder hungry.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good way to put it. I'm going to blow everyone's mind right now. Okay. I think maybe today I'll have to do a reel on this. Y'all know what ChatGPT is?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's like the AI. So what I did last night is I started to write prompts for ChatGPT around nutrition. And I said, act as if you're a world-class dietitian who specializes in nutrition for sports performance. Actually, I should say what it is. ChatGPT is this amazing new AI model. It's called the language system, where you can just ask it things like it's a human, and it will give you things back. And you can have a conversation with it just like a human. So I told it, I said, act as if you're a world-class dietitian who specialize in nutrition and sports performance. You give detailed meal plans that have specific measurements for each ingredient. You target certain macros and calorie goals for your athlete you work with. And I said, I just edited it right now to say you target 1.5 grams per protein per kilograms of body weight. Give me a 700 calorie breakfast for someone who's 68 kilograms. This is John, about 150. And it gave me in a second, 700 calories, 38 grams of protein, 83 grams of carbs, and 25 grams of fat. And it's this one's a little bit different than normal, but if you do it every time you do it, it's something new comes up. You got 3 large eggs, a medium sweet potato, 1 medium banana, oatmeal, tablespoon or 1 cup of oatmeal, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, and 1 cup unsweetened almond milk. Alex, that not bad?
Yeah.
So I did it for a whole week for myself, and it gives up other things. Yeah. And you can just add other stuff. So I want to do a prompt for TrainerRoad athletes to be able to say, you know, like how long they're training and stuff and see what comes up.
Yeah.
It comes out with some screwy stuff sometimes though. So you like, you gotta, you gotta like not, you know that there's that Office episode where they drive into the lake.
Follow the machine and they follow.
Yeah, exactly. Don't follow the machine like that.
Yeah. This is, so what you just shared right there, that's an interesting concept. And I feel like it's a good principle to follow. Alex, there's a temptation when you first start, especially when you first start measuring food, and we're kind of going off the rails, but it's still on the rails, I guess, of this one. But so let's just say you're measuring food and you plan that morning to have like a pretty simple breakfast. Like you're going to have oatmeal, and inside that oatmeal, you're going to have berries and honey. Those are like your 3 things you're going to have. If you start doing that and then you start like actually looking at how many calories you're getting, you might be like, oh, I need more. So I'll just add more oatmeal, or I'll just add more of what I'm having. Mm-hmm. I think that there's a really, whatever you look at good, sound nutrition advice, it's not just saying just eat more of the same thing. It's bring in a variety and bring in other things. Like, you know, that was wide ranging, that breakfast Nate talked about. And when you reach that crossroads where you're like, okay, so it's important to take in a variety, but then it's really, it can be complicated because it's hard to prepare all of those different things like that. Yeah. And that's like, but what I'm getting at here is that it's important to make sure that you are taking in things from as many different sources as possible. So, with our son, we like play this game to try to get over pickiness. And we have this like game, like from how many different sources can I get my nutrition today? And sometimes that just looks like goldfish and different colored fruit snacks instead of like, but we're like training and we're getting closer to that whole concept of like, it's kind of fun to be like, oh, I'm going to have, I don't know, a pickle. And that's going to be something different that I haven't had for a long time. And then for this lunch, I'm actually going to eat like, I don't know, broccolini. I haven't had that for dinner for a really long time. And I'm going to bring that into something. I don't know. It's fun to be able to search for your calories from all those different varieties. And then usually what ends up happening is you end up nourishing yourself more when you're searching for those varieties too. It's kind of like a personal hack, at least that I've used for it.
And there's something too about like fueling your body well. Like it's gonna pay you back in like performance and often in body composition too. Like I had an athlete, she's kind of a runner triathlete that was with me last summer. She was in her last year of her medical residency. And so she was in a really bad habit of like having a light breakfast, skipping lunch because she was just busy. And then she'd try and go for a run in the afternoon after work. And it just was not going well. And so then we really worked on those behavior changes during the day. And like, she's just rocking it. Like she just feels great in the afternoon. She goes for a really great run. She's getting faster. And she's like, I'm actually been losing weight, but I've been eating more. And it's just because like she has better energy levels. So she's more active throughout the day and on the weekends. And like, there's just something really special about actually fueling your body really well.
Alex, what do you think of intuitive eating? Because I know that's big in general, but I find when you're especially training as much as John's training, it's so hard, right? Probably Ivy too, so hard to eat enough. What do you think of that for like the endurance athlete?
Yeah, I love the
concept. What is intuitive eating? Like the concept of that?
So the concept of intuitive eating is listening to your body's hunger cues. When you're hungry, whatever you're feeling like eating, just honoring that and going ahead and eating versus like intentionally restricting. I think intuitive eating has a great concept, but for athletes, it often doesn't work really well. So there has to be kind of this balance between intuitive eating and intentional eating. So for example, like you get done with a really hard workout and a lot of times exercise will suppress your appetite. And so you need to refuel, but you're not hungry. So in the whole intuitive eating world, you just wait until you're hungry. But I say, no, you got to eat right away, because if you don't, within a couple hours, you're going to be feeling really crappy. And another example would be I have a athlete who at her job, 2:00 is their break, religiously at 2:00. She goes, I'm not always hungry at 2:00. I'm usually hungry at 3:00, but I'm busy with a case and I can't have a snack then. I'm like, well, then you have to eat at 2:00, even if you're not hungry, because then you're going to get through the rest of the day and not get out of work feeling absolutely starving and feel like you need to hit the drive-through on your way home. So like just that kind of mindset too is really important to kind of be strategic in how you're fueling.
Great point. Ivy, how have you managed this? Like, because you've mentioned publicly on the podcast before that you got to a point where you're like, whoa, I'm undernourishing myself. Like I'm not fueling enough. So what have you done to kind of, are you more intentional than you are intuitive with your eating? And what have you done to change it?
Oh yeah, I have to be. If I'm just intuitive, I make mistakes constantly. Turns out my body doesn't tell me very effectively what I need in the moment. So I kind of have to force myself to make different choices pretty frequently. And we just talked about like great strategies to prevent you from getting to that point before your workout where you're totally empty and like wondering if you should eat a protein bar. And like, even though I'm intentional in my eating, I still do this probably twice a week, maybe more, depending upon, off the bike stress in life, workload, whatever. And so for Val, in the question of should I eat a protein bar, I know for me, when I know that I've messed up during the day, I didn't do those things that Alex, those principles that were laid out about how to prepare yourself better. When I know that I messed up and I know that I need to start a workout soon and I didn't fuel correctly for the rest of the day prior, doing something like a protein bar, I can find is really heavy in my gut. It takes a really long time for me to digest and actually feel like it's being converted into energy and doesn't effectively prepare me for a workout better. So when I mess up and I know that I have to do a workout soon, I go for really simple carbs. So like a packet of instant oatmeal or like frozen waffles or, rice that's cooked that I keep in the fridge. I know is really easy to digest and isn't going to be hard on my stomach and is going to get in my system super, super quick. So that's pretty different from something like a pretty complex processed protein bar,
Yeah. Or graham crackers work really well, or even like applesauce pouches. If you're really in a pinch before a workout, like 15, 20 minutes before, I can down those pretty quick. And with kids, you always have those applesauce pouches around.
Yeah.
So, I keep one in my purse, I feel like constantly. So, having those types of things around, just that quick energy can really help just get you through that workout. And then you kind of have to play catch up the rest of the day. And because you don't want to get into the evening where you're just constantly hungry and just eating everything in your kitchen.
Oh, I texted John about this after a really hard workout this weekend and called it snake meal. When you do when you devour one big meal the way a snake would.
Just all down all at once. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, doing something like that, those like graham crackers or applesauce, like that really quick stuff, it can be easy to be like, well, I screwed up nutrition for today. I should change my workout or skip it or do something different. But in reality, that stuff hits you so quick. By the time you put your shoes on and kit up and finish like half of your warm up, I feel like it's hit me already. It's not too late. You do have to make up for it later in your post-workout meal. But yeah, it's not too late if you can go for some quick, easy stuff.
We're talking about, eating enough and timing your meals and all that sort of thing. But I think there's a lot of the audience too, who are on the opposite side, who their hunger is higher than what their caloric expenditure is. And that's probably a real struggle for most people. And our struggle is a struggle too. And I've been on it both sides, right? I was much heavier, more different body fat composition. And I'm going to relate to this with intuitive eating to my son. And he, like what John mentioned, the variety of foods. And he always loves like cookies and stuff at night. And I have a problem with him eating, in my mind, a view of eating enough healthy food first before the cookies. And my friend sent me like a intuitive eating thing for kids. It blew my mind. It's only happened once, but I feel like super dad now. Is when he asked for cookies, I gave him a cookie, but I also gave him carrots, apples, and goldfish. And when I came back, he ate 3/4 of the cookie and carrots, apples, and goldfish. And if I would have told him he had to eat carrots, apples, goldfish first before the cookie, he would have cried and screamed. And I would relate to myself, my own journey with my body comp change is I think if I had 6 cookies, I would eat them all. If I had to eat the same thing, if I made myself eat it before as reward, I probably wouldn't like those carrots, apples, and goldfish as much. But when they're all kind of on the same plate and you just kind of eat how you feel, it's a lot better, I think. Alex, what do you, I see you're shaking your head.
Yeah.
Yes. What's your opinion on
Food
this?
is just food. And that's what I teach my kids too. Like, whether it's a cookie or whether it's carrots or broccoli, it's just food. And I tell that with some athletes, like, oh, I just really wanted a cookie. I was so hungry. I'm like, okay, have a cookie, but then maybe have some protein with it too, like a cheese stick or something else. Like, make it a little bit more of a balanced snack, because then you're going to feel so much more full and you're still getting your cookie, but you're just going to feel better. And like that hunger is going to be curbed for a lot longer. And when athletes are feeling like their hunger is out of control, usually we need to look at protein, because that really just helps regulate it. And not just the quantity, but also how they're distributing it throughout the day is also important too.
How would you like
there's
it
like
distributed?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. That was a very specific question to that. And then mine can wait. That was a good one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. How would you like it distributed throughout the day?
Yeah. So I would say just with athletes, I usually say eating every 3 to 4 hours. And so whether that's at a meal or a snack, it's just having a consistent supply. So, like 20 to 30 grams at a meal, 10, anywhere from 5 to 15 grams at a snack, and just getting that consistent supply can be helpful. The only time I would kind of skip it would be right before the workout, and then just saving it for post-workout.
Yeah. This is, I think that hopefully what this has done is this has given a lot of people some really practical tips on when they find themselves undernourished for something. And then on the other side of things, when you talk about the weight gain and everything else, I want to go back to that, and then we'll move on from this question, because Nate, you brought up the great point that there are people on the other side of the coin that are listening to this in a different situation. Do you notice, Alex, like an adaptation period when people, like you mentioned that like weight gain could happen? Is it common to see when a person starts like measuring their food and nourishing themselves, like kind of by the book, so to speak? In other words, like giving them the proper sort of nutrition that would allow an athlete to perform. Do you find that they do gain weight initially, or do you find that they lose weight initially, or is there no common thread?
It kind of depends on the athlete, but if you're going to start fueling more, I would recommend doing it very gradually. If like I've had athletes that come in and I'm like, you're at like 1,000 calorie deficit a day. Like, we can't jump up 1,000 calories all of a sudden tomorrow. We got to work your way up to it, because that just would be a really big change. And we probably would see some significant weight gain right off the bat. But if we do it, 100, 150 calories increase, week after week, and gradually work them up to 1,000, they're going to see very minimal weight gain, if not even seeing some weight loss sometimes. I mean, I've had quite a few athletes that once we get them like fueling more, they're just like the weight is just coming off. I'm like, yeah, that's like, what kind of nutrition voodoo is this? I'm like, well, it's just your metabolism is readjusting and you're performing really well. Like, let's just roll with this.
Yeah, Alex, that's a huge thing that I think, like what they call it, reverse dieting. Because people talk about when you restrict your calories a bunch, your basal metabolic rate goes down a bunch, and you end up not eating any food, but also not having any energy, and still gaining weight or not being able to lose weight. And then what you described is adding little bits, 100 here and there. What does that do to your metabolism and how many calories you burn per day?
Yeah. So reverse dieting is a term. I'm not a huge fan of that term, but sometimes I just say like increasing your metabolic output is what I like to say. And so when you've been under fueling for a really long time, your metabolism will adapt to surviving on that amount that you're consuming. And so when we get them fueling more, their metabolism kind of just wakes up, starts increasing. And so we find that we resolve some gut issues, because your gut is starting to move at a better rate, because often when they're under fueling, their gut will slow down and to try and like get every little bit of calorie out of your food. We tend to see you have better energy levels. So you're just more active throughout the day. Like if you think of getting done with a really big workout and you're like, I just want to take a massive nap. I just want to veg on the couch all day because I'm exhausted from that really hard workout. Instead, when we get them really well fueled, they're like, I went and did yard work. I played with my kid. I got some work done. Like they're so much more productive and functional. And so they're burning more calories just naturally that way as well. So there's a lot of really good things that just happen metabolically when we're fueling enough.
So there's a way where you can, I'm going to say this, you can eat more food, You can improve body composition, you can get faster, and you can lose weight at the same time with eating more food. And this happens all the time, right, Alex? Which is blows people's minds.
Yeah. They're like, because they're so used to the diet culture mentality of calories in, calories out, eat less, exercise more. And so this whole new concept of fueling more, and also when we're talking about body composition, they're putting on muscle, more lean muscle, which does require more calories to maintain than fat does. So there's it's a complex concept, but in the end, like, they feel so much better. They're performing really well, and they're getting to eat more food. So they're not constantly in this, like, how can I eat enough and still, like, either maintain my weight, because there's this deep fear of weight gain. And so you kind of have to let go of that.
If you look at like the overall, the risks of undernourishment, and assuming, again, this is a super important assumption to operate on, that you're an active, like an athlete that's following a training plan or doing, like, you're consistently exercising. Okay. So you're not a normal, like, sedentary average person here. This is a very different person. Assuming that's the case, it is like the risks for undernourishment are really high. And I'm not just talking about on the bike. I'm also talking about off the bike and the other parts of your life that suffer, but then also just general health. There's a lot more risks than if you're an athlete and you're exercising regularly and then you're trying to nourish yourself across the board. That removes a whole lot of it. It's funny, like, Nate, you told me this and I thought, Nate's silly, and Alex, you can speak to this too with having more kids. When we had one kid, I was like, and our son is incredible. He's like the greatest. He's 6 years old, and he's just like, he's basically another adult in the home in terms of help. He's so great. And we thought having a second child will be a breeze because like we've gone through it and we have a helper.
Alex is laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been so hard, and fuel the work means something really different to me now. It doesn't just mean fuel the intervals that I'm doing. It means fuel the fact that, like, after this workout, my daughter is going to demand that I hold her. And she also demands that I do not sit down, that I stand and I walk when I hold her. And that is what she wants. And so, like, I know that I'm going to spend like exactly. I'm going to spend 2 hours walking around, with her. And like, so it's fueling the work is the work that life gives me. It's, and I put training into that, but it's also, like, I love my job. And if I can fuel myself to do more, I have a direct impact on more people. Like, I can help more people if I do that. And then, of course, directly with my family. So if I look at it from that perspective, and I'm like nourishing and trying to fuel, there's a lot at risk. And that's why I think that erring on the side of being okay with fueling more than whatever standards are being communicated or whatever you ate at one point, weighing more than you have at one point or another is okay. Just look at performance. Like right now, when I was just racing road bikes and mountain bikes, I was down to low 140s, mid 140s in weight. And now I'm 150 pounds and I feel so much better in absolutely everything across the board. So this is a situation, Val, where you're just like getting into this, like you mentioned, and you've noticed this weight gain. And I think Alex's advice in particular is just so sound to not worry about that sort of thing. There's like this adjustment period, and if you're focusing on nourishment, you'll end up further ahead. I
have a few more things. I know it's a long one question, but one thing John did, he was 63 kilograms and he went to 68, and then he noticed a big improvement. Also, when you talk about underfueling, I mean, raise your hand here if you've done this, where you underfuel so much to try to lose weight that you then miss workouts. And that puts you so much farther behind than the, quarter pound that you would have lost or even less by missing that meal. Everyone's nodding their head. Yes.
100%.
It's a slow process, right? Because a lot of people, you want to, as Val said, or as Alex said, that your goal seems so far away that you want to go 1,000 calories like a day. And then you end up not being able to train. And then you get those the panic, what do you call the eating, the attack eating, the
murder eating,
then you murder eat, right? And it's just
Snake
this horrible cycle, and it's so easy to get into, right? And then you're like, well, this time I'm just going to grit my way through it, and I'm going to do it right. If I just had more willpower, I'd be able to reduce my calories enough and get through it faster, right? And then it happens again and again and again, and then you start thinking,
not about willpower.
Start thinking, I'm not an athlete, right? Maybe this isn't for me. All these like negative thoughts can go through your head when really, I think if you're listening to what Alex is saying, this is not the this is the hard way, or almost like the impossible way. Like there is a way to go slow, and it's that diet culture on Instagram and TikTok, and like you drink this tea and you're going to lose 5 pounds, and because it's like you're going to have diarrhea for 2 days, and it's going to be immediate. Or you do some diet and you lose all your glycogen, and you instantly lose 5 pounds that way, and you think that it's actual body fat, which is probably what you want to lose, and it's not.
Well, and then they look more toned because they're like all like veined out and they're dehydrated, and it's like that's not
that's a huge thing that people don't realize, is that when you're dehydrated, your skin doesn't hold as much water and your veins show more. And some of it's genetic. Some people are just more veiny. But when you are super veiny, it doesn't necessarily mean you have lower fat right then. It might mean that you're super dehydrated going to that race because of something you did before.
Anytime you see like the covers on the men on the covers of the magazines and they're all veined out, they like, you hear them respond, they're like, yeah, that I just look hungry. That's all they say when they look at themselves. That's what they say in the interviews. They're like, I just look so hungry and I'm so thirsty. And I'm like, how is this like the what we want? Like, this is what people are striving for. Like, it's so messed up.
If you pinch your skin, what bodybuilders will do is, if you pinch your skin right now, it should snap back really fast, like elastic. And bodybuilders, if you're super dehydrated, your skin will actually stay there and kind of slowly go back. And I've had this happen too on a really tough, hot race. That's a good sign to say that, well, I am super dehydrated. I wonder if you could even do that inside of a race to know if that happened to my skin during a race, I would seriously slow down and get a lot more electrolytes and water at that time.
Right.
Two more things actually. Sorry. For Val. Alex, for Val saying eating a protein bar before her, like it's sometime in the afternoon, I'm assuming there's at least 3 hours to digest this before her afternoon ride. I would say most protein bars are only protein. Could Val find a protein bar that's a mix of carbs and protein and probably be better off than some fat?
Yeah, I'd go like for a Cliff Bar or something like that. There's usually a good amount of carbs in there, and there's some protein, but it's not super high typically with those.
Like the Cliff Bar Cliff Builder, or just the Cliff, like the regular Cliff Bars?
I would do the regular if it were me, but I'm also, team carbs all the way.
Me too. The other one, Val says, I learned that on the bike, almost anything goes, which is she said that almost anything goes on the bike, which...
Oh, we're going to blow your mind with the last question, by the way, Nate. It's a doozy on that.
Because like hard-boiled eggs, like I don't know. I'm the opposite of what everything goes. I think it's almost the part that is the hardest time to eat on the bike, and the most like sensitive, the most planning.
Val's listened to too many podcasts where I talk about eating gas station food, and just that's what I find. They have in
my
mind
saying is the bike is the buffet. That's what I tell often, like, because but then I work a lot I have a lot of triathletes on our client load, and so with running it's so sensitive, but with the bike, like, you can tolerate so much more than you can running, unless you're like an ultra distance runner and they just eat burritos out on the course. Yeah. So that's a little different, but they're a different breed. So, it depends on how hard you're going out on the bike, right? Like if you're going all out effort, you have to be much more conscious of what you're eating, because when our heart rate is super high, our digestive system is going to slow down, because that blood flow is going to be directed away from your digestive system and go to your muscles where it's needed. And so when blood flow gets diverted away from the gut, things are going to slow down. And so you have to be very thoughtful in what you're consuming there, versus, if you're more of a novice rider and you're going more at a medium effort, you can tolerate things a little bit differently.
Yeah, that's the biggest. It's almost like if they're eating crazy random stuff on the bike, Alex, like to start, that's not a bad place to begin with, right? Yeah. And then they can start to match what they're eating with their intensity later on. And it's also, but Ivy, there's something to be said, depending on what you do, there's something to be said for being able to take down something that isn't just glucose and fructose, right? Like,
yep. It's really nice in an emergency situation when I see a gas station and need calories.
It's a big morale booster for sure.
Yeah. To not be like, oh no, I hope they have
Marten.
This
I
type
hope
of
7-Eleven has
Yeah.
Marten right
yeah. yeah.
now. If not, can't eat. Sorry.
Yeah. It feels really good to know and feel at ease that I can go for the Hostess cakes and be okay and my gut can handle it and I'll be able to keep training.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like a huge benefit. Like you don't want to narrow yourself down too much with that. I think there is something to be said for that. If your training encounters that. Otherwise, but also, and sorry, we're going off the rails, but we're still somehow on the rails. It's a weird circuitous loop that we're doing here. But this is, I think you mentioned this, Alex, earlier, but like, the kids' snack drawer, like sort of a thing. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
My son has a very large portion of the pantry, and when you look at paying for sports nutrition all the time, it can just get so expensive, like so fast. And for me, like recently out on my rides, because I'm doing like a lot of endurance and tempo work and some sweet spot work, not doing a lot of VO2. That's what I've been doing for the triathlon plan, right? In the base phase. And I've been bringing out like Sour Patch Kids from my son's thing. And I've been bringing out graham crackers and just like different things that I can, because boy, it's way, way cheaper. And I'm also not doing the sort of intensity that's like super crazy. As I get closer to my race, I'm going to get more and more to taking in the things that I want to take on race day. But right now, since I'm further away from it, it's okay. And I'm getting nourishment, and I'm also making my gut kind of tough to be able to handle different things. And I'm saving money. So don't feel bad if you raid your kid's snack drawer.
Yeah, Haribo gummy bears are like actually their ingredients like are aligned really well with a lot of sports fuels. So that's a go-to for a lot of athletes.
When I was a triathlete in my 20s, when I first started, I was like, I want to do an Ironman. And I heard you had to change your gut. So I would eat a full dinner and then do a all-out 5K run afterwards, like immediate.
What kind of
Did you puke?
Like steak, potatoes, like just like a regular pizza. And it was in Rancho, like behind, it's hilly, just as hard as I could, like 3 to 4 mile run. And I didn't puke. It worked. I have a pretty iron stomach. That's like the thing that I'm good at is eating.
So you do it intentionally then. You like try to train your gut. Like I started eating gas station food, not because I thought it would help my gut respond better in the future, but John was mentioning, just purely being economical. Like you can get like a big Costco box of fruit snacks for $9 or get a few packs of blocks for that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't feel bad about that too. If you're in that situation, taking it in, you're nourishing. So, should we move on to David's question? This one's going to trigger some folks. If you're listening, listen up. This one's from David. David says, greetings from Austria. I've listened to your podcast in the last 2 years and got myself a subscription, a smart trainer, and I love your app. Thank you. You can sign up, go to TrainerRoad.com. Go check it out. We have so much exciting stuff with AI, FTP detection. We have adaptive training. Nate and I both, we like see and work, and Ivy, like we see and work on so many exciting things here at TrainerRoad. We like have to hold ourselves back from sharing them with you, but it's an exciting time here at TrainerRoad. So go sign up, TrainerRoad.com. Okay, obviously 5 stars on the podcast as I listened through already 2 times and started a 3rd time. That is commitment, David, listening to the entire catalog like that. That is incredible.
Wow.
And yes, thank you for rating the podcast. For those that don't know, that's a huge thing. Podcast apps, the way they work is that if you search for cycling podcast, if a podcast hasn't gotten reviews recently, it's not going to be recommended. It needs to have listens, and it needs to have people finding the podcast, and it needs to have recent ratings in order to get suggested to people. And Nate, you're the CEO, but this is our biggest marketing effort, is it not? Like the podcast. So when you rate the podcast, you go on there, rate it 5 stars on whichever podcast platform you use. Spotify is growing rapidly, so if you want to do that one, that would be great. But when you rate the podcast on there, it's a huge benefit for us because that helps us grow. So,
and the apps. I want to give a couple stats real fast because sometimes oftentimes people go, it's just you, like us 4, or like 4 people at the company. If you rate us in the App Store in Google Play, that's awesome. We have over 22,000 reviews at a 4.9 average star rating. We've had over 25 million workouts completed on TrainerRoad, the app indoors itself. And then by pulling in all the workouts from outside and runs and stuff, we have 198 million. And that is the data set combined with our indoor data set that's very specific. You combine that 25 is inside of that 198, which is how we do things like adaptive training and a whole bunch of other cool AI/ML machine learning features on side of that data set. So we've got a pretty good scale there. And just I know it seems small of like, oh, what will one review do? It really, really, really does help. And if you don't like it, you can email us or Instagram John. You can Instagram me too. You can Instagram me for sure. Or
don't
email
Instagram
support,
me.
all those.
I don't know. I love the idea of it just being the four of us running TrainerRoad.
I know.
I'm writing the code for AI FTP detection. John, like
in the forum,
software.
One hand on one keyboard, one on the other. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's 92 of us here at TrainerRoad. It's bigger than just a few of us. And we continue to grow. And we don't have investors. We grow because when you share the podcast with people and more people sign up, that's what helps us grow. So super helpful. Please
and just tell your friends to sign up too.
Yes.
Just skip the whole podcast. Just go ahead. By the way, too, how do you get Alex? How do you hire Alex to if you need nutrition help? Because that is a huge, huge unlock, I think, that like can make your training like twice as effective, I feel like, if to really dial in nutrition.
Alex, how do people sign up?
Yeah, so you'd go to my website, alexlarsonnutrition.com, and on my services page, there's an application. So you fill out that application, which will come right to me, and I'll review that, and then we'll set up a call to talk more about like what you got going on, how we can help, and then what the program looks like, and how we would personalize it for you.
Awesome. And it sounds like a bunch of people reached out to you after the last spot.
Yeah,
so
we do have quite
swarmed.
a few new cyclists on our client load, which is great. We love them all. Like, we really love working with cyclists. So we're here to help.
Sweet. It's awesome. Okay, so David's question. He's from Austria and he likes TrainerRoad. We know that much, but now we'll continue. He says, I have a question regarding or considering nutrition and weight loss. I have, and these are David's words. I want to be clear on this. I have weight problems and my weight is fluctuating a lot. I play tennis and football and additionally started a low volume training plan on TrainerRoad. I assume football in this case, perhaps, David, I would assume that you're talking about soccer, but maybe you're talking about American football here. Who knows? But
Austria,
that's a lot.
Probably what we think is soccer.
Yeah. I would think so, right? But maybe he's appropriating things for us Americans.
Maybe you're right.
So, yeah. But that's a lot, though, right, Ivy? Just like looking at that, like tennis, football, and then
probably more than what I do.
Yeah, it's a lot. He mentions, so I have 3 to 4 workouts per week at least. It started in 2023 with my aim to lose about 10 kilograms. So I started intermittent fasting because it was easier for me to not eat too much when I was fasting for about 18 hours. As I'm hooked on your training, I want to be sure to get as much as I can from the training. So here's my question. I have 2 meals a day, and the problem is my protein intake. How can I be sure to get enough protein with just 2 meals? Or is this simply not possible? Yes. Return of snake meals.
Sorry.
Yeah. I read your blog post and I read about 20 to 40 grams maximum of protein per meal. And that's an exclamation point that I was trying to inflect there. Is there a strategy to get all of your protein intake in just 6 hours? Maybe perhaps many small protein meals? Or should I get away from intermittent fasting? This is important context. David said, I had an episode earlier in my life where I ate far too little, only watching the calorie intake. So I want to lose weight naturally without tracking the exact amounts of calories or macronutrients that I take in, because I may start to get an unhealthy relationship with food again. I'm just a normal person with some goals, so I don't need to meet the exact macronutrient amount every day, but I want to be sure that it's good enough without exactly measuring every meal. Thanks, from David. It's a really good question. Mm-hmm. Alex, where do you want to start with David's question?
I first want to say that we are all normal people here with some goals, and that it's important to know. But I would not recommend intermittent fasting for weight loss when you're an athlete that's training and you're as active as David is. And he said he wants to get the most out of his TrainerRoad training, and intermittent fasting is not going to do that for him. Like, it sounds like he has a history of having an unhealthy relationship with food. And so I jokingly call intermittent fasting randomized starving. And so you're just not going to get the most.
Love that.
beneficial impact from doing that, like both physically and mentally. And so big red flag for me is like the eating 2 meals a day, like for athletes. And I mentioned this already, recommend eating every 3 to 4 hours. And then the only fasting you should be doing is while you're sleeping. The 20 to 40 grams of protein per meal, I would agree with that, especially, if you're eating 3 meals a day. And then you can supplement with protein at snacks, like we talked about already. So, and I was kind of doing some math in advance of like, let's take a 150 pound person, that's 68 kilos, let's say 1.6 grams of protein per kilo. That's 109 grams of protein per day. You divide that by 2 meals, that's over 50 grams of protein, just trying to get your protein needs for the day. And that's really hard on your body to take that large of fuel in. And often we see people with GI issues when they're doing that too. So if you divide that by 4, so doing 3 meals a day plus snacks, like that's 27 grams, so much more achievable. And you're going to get that steadier supply of protein throughout the day. And so your hunger is going to be better regulated. You're not starving yourself. You're going to just see better recovery from training, better energy levels.
Oh, Alex, what do you say though if he comes back and says, but if I do that, I have problems with my hunger and I end up, air quotes, I'm going to say overeating because I'm not sure if he really is, but what do you say to someone who says that? Yeah.
Well, then we might be at too much of a calorie deficit. If he's wanting to lose weight and you're wanting to be at a calorie deficit, you might be just at too much, or you've just been under fueling for so long. We need to kind of get you back up to your maintenance for a little while, and then we can pull back over time. But when he said that his weight's fluctuating, that to me was also a sign that he's probably hasn't been super consistent with his nutrition. And so that could be something to look at too, is like getting things steadier and more consistent can really help with keeping your weight steadier as well.
Putting this in terms of like a basic unit of measure for people, I think, is this right? A chicken breast, I've like the thing that I've heard roughly is somewhere around 40 grams, although they vary in size and everything else.
So yes. An ounce of meat is about 6-7 grams of protein, and 3 ounces of meat is the size of a deck of cards. So it depends on how large of a chicken breast, because those can vary greatly. So if you're looking at like size of a deck of cards, which is not very big, that's 3 ounces. So about 21 grams of protein. Versus doing something, that's like a 6 ounce chicken breast, that's going to be a significant amount.
So 3 ounce is 80 or 85 grams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For somebody that's like here in the States, if you go to Costco, those are not the same size chicken breast that you would get.
American. We're big.
Yeah. Those things are huge. Ivy, you were going to say something?
Oh yeah. I just, that sounded familiar to me, John, because I looked that up like a couple days ago, how many grams of protein were in a normal chicken breast, because I can't relate to a lot of what David is describing here. I can relate to having an unhealthy relationship with food in the past and not wanting to really focus on counting calories and really at a microscopic level looking at hitting your macros per day, because looking at that so closely can really kind of reignite those bad food relationships. And so what I did is kind of like have a comprehensive goal of what I want to meet per day, and then have a physical representation to look at, like, this is what this would look like in a day for me. From different sources, so that then I can apply it more intentionally, not on that microscopic level of like, how many ounces is this? How much does this weigh? How many grams is in this? Like I get a visual representation of like, this is how much this size chicken breast probably has. And like, this is how many carbs are in this amount of cooked rice or this amount of this kind of bean, so that then I can apply those principles later without having to like really at a close level measure food, count calories, look at macros. So I do resonate with David in that regard, and that has been my approach.
That's a really practical tip. It's also, Ivy, that's kind of teasing out something that you'll be, some content you'll be putting out here soon. Go to Instagram, follow TrainerRoad and check it out, so you can see it. Nate.
I want to play, I'm going to ask Alex questions because I know the IF crowd is screaming right now that we're not mentioning some other things.
Intermittent fasting crowd, you mean, right?
Yeah. Yep, intermittent fasting.
Wait, deliberate, no. Was it
Randomized starving.
randomized starvation?
Oh,
Not
Pitchforks
random,
just-
say. No, but I mean, we should give credit. Like,
Exactly.
So, Alex,
Yeah.
what do you think, though, for someone who is not an athlete and they've struggled their whole life with portion control, and they find that intermittent fasting allows them to eat calories that are more in line with what they should, and they've had results with it where they're not hungry during the day, they have no sports performance impact because they're not an athlete, or maybe they're not training right now. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think for the non-athlete audience, the intermittent fasting would be a very reasonable weight loss strategy. I mean, there's actually lots of research on that and it's very successful. But for the athlete audience, it's not a good fit because it's really going to wreak havoc on a lot of things. It's just going to add stress to your body, which we don't want.
I did intermittent fasting for 2 years when I was in Chile, just totally unintentionally, because what they do is they eat I was too poor to afford food, but then people would give us a meal at lunch and it was amazing. So I would eat a gigantic lunch and then I might have something like I'd save a little bit for it, but then I wouldn't eat until like the next day. Again, it was almost darn near like a 20-hour fast that I would do all the time. And I cannot imagine training with that, personally speaking, just because of dealing with that heavy bolus of food and then going through the digestive process and then, having to do workouts at some sort of schedule, particularly if you're doing like multi-sport stuff where you're doing multiple workouts a day, it would be very hard, which in David's situation, even though you're not multi-sport in the sense of swim, bike, run or something, you're doing bike, tennis, football. That's a lot.
Yeah, you're going to see some muscle loss likely with doing intermittent fasting, and you're going to be putting yourself at risk for injury as well, which isn't good.
So for the person non-athlete, it might be a good choice if it helps you eat less. But for the athlete, you might be probably making it a lot harder on yourself. And like we talked about too, of it's hard to eat all that food, and you're going to be more tired. And a lot of sports injury, especially in a skill sport like football, comes from when you're tired. You do something different and your knee moves a certain way and then you're out. Cycling, that can happen too in a race or corners, or mountain biking. You get tired. That is when all the issues happen.
Yeah.
Triathlon, you probably just go straight.
Running,
just don't fall asleep.
Sure, too, though.
Yeah, running too. Now, Alex, what other people will say is, well, there's all of these mechanisms that have been studied in IF that show intermittent fasting that show that if I do this, I'm going to either live longer or I'm going to unlock this thing where I'm going to suddenly start burning fat more and I'm going to have a better body composition output than if I didn't do it. And what would you say to those people if they're an athlete who want those benefits and thinking that if I do this, I'll get those benefits. So therefore it outweighs the performance benefit.
Yeah. And we talked about fat adaptation a little bit in the last episode that I was on. And it's complicated in that sense of like, yes, when you are training fasted, you will see more fat burning during that workout, but you're also going to be likely not burning fat the rest of the day then as well, because your body's going to be using whatever you're consuming as energy the rest of the day. So, I mean, when it comes to athletes, the research has shown with fat adaptation, it's not superior to fueling with carbs. And in my instance of like preserving our mental health and our relationship with food, having steadier energy levels throughout the day, because we're not just athletes, we're also parents, we're also working, we need to be able to function throughout the day. Like in my experience, the fueling throughout the day consistently with carbs and not trying to go hours and hours without eating just isn't as successful as people would think that it would be.
I've also seen study, and I can't remember. If someone calls me on it, I'll have to look it up. But it was comparing intermittent fasting against people who aren't. And if you matched protein intake for the day and you accounted for calories and you matched calories, that the body comp was no different between the two groups over time. Like there's nothing, the point of this was there's nothing magical happening in the fasting that would then cause you to have a much lower body comp at the same calorie or a much better body comp at the same calorie intake if protein were the same as against someone who ate 4 or 5 meals a day.
Was that using athletes? Was that athletes?
I believe it was strength athletes.
Okay.
But still,
that
it's
might
still
be
much
a little
lower.
Yeah, like that's a little different too than like endurance athletes that are training for long hours. It's very frequent. Like it's different. And a lot of those studies, like the sample size, like the size of the study, it's just they're not doing enough subjects to really get a good picture too.
Yeah. Well, what that tells me though is that at that lower activity level, there's nothing magical happening. And then if we go to a higher activity level, you're actually not able to do as much activity, and your performance is going to be as well. Where if, let's say, at that lower activity level, your percent body fat dropped by half or something crazy like that, I could see how people could be drawn to that. But what we hear on the internet is a lot of people talk about the mechanism and not the outcome, and they say mechanism, and they'll I'm sure on this podcast they'll post a thing about the mechanism. But what you want to do is an overall picture outcome of people are training, especially Alex said too, high level athlete training this way. Like there's a reason why Matthew Vanderpool doesn't do intermittent fasting. And I know we've said, hey, Chris Froome like did some IF or something before.
Yeah. He may have been trolling. We don't know that, but he may have been, the whole world was watching Chris Froome like a hawk. And if he's doing this sort of stuff and he knows that it could mess up his competition, why not post it? I don't know. Maybe he wasn't though.
The PhDs that we know that work inside the Pro Peloton, they don't know anyone who does intermittent fasting for training.
Oh yeah,
no. They'll talk to us specifically outside of it. And yeah, if Chris Froome does an Instagram post of like, I'm in the middle of a tour and I'm eating salmon, hard-boiled egg, and asparagus, that's a great way to have all your competitors do that too. Like that is the way that I got to the end when we know that he actually eats a whole bunch of carbs and plans it specifically to have, when he won that one stage in the was it the Giro or the Tour? I forget where he soloed forever, but it's very planned specifically with a ton of carbs, like so many. Yeah. It wasn't.
I think another point with this one, Nate, that's important to point out. So the mechanism versus outcome is really important to keep our focus on. Sometimes you'll hear other people also get lost in percentages versus actual amounts. Like, if it's, and what they'll say is that you burn a greater percentage of, when you look at substrate utilization and you're in ketosis or a fasted state or anything else, a greater percentage of that is going to come from fat. Therefore, it's better because you're burning fat. And in our human brains, we just want to get rid of all that fat and we just want to be super lean. And that's kind of like what the normal mindset goes toward. But if you're looking at it at absolute amounts, if you can enable yourself to do more work, and the way to do that is to make sure that you're adequately nourished and recovering from a workload that is increasing strategically, right? That's how you end up getting faster. If you can do more work, you'll actually be burning a higher just raw amount of fat, most likely, when you're nourishing yourself properly. So that's it's the percentage part. Don't get thrown off by the percentage in and of itself. And while there are also folks that will tie that into then substrate utilization at intensity and say, well, that's important. In the end, focus on the outcome, not just the mechanism. What is the work you can do? Can you sustain that work? Can you recover from that work? And that's, in this case, David, hopefully this is something where, like you said, you're in this situation now, you've been following intermittent fasting. And even if you keep following it, if you set your mind on this point of making sure that you are focusing on performance, then that should lead you in the right spot rather than focusing on deprivation or anything else like that.
I want to beat this horse a little more.
Yeah, sure.
It's not dead enough. If what John just said about the percentage is so true, and we hear this with FTP all the time, where let's say you can ride 70% of your FTP like very, very, very long, and say you have a 200 watt FTP. And some people will concentrate on getting that longer because they're like, hey, you're going to be able to ride at a higher percentage of your FTP with this diet change or this type of training. And on the opposite side, if you have room to grow, like if you're at 5 watts per kilo, 5.1, maybe that's a very, very sound strategy. But let's say if you're at 2 watts per kilo, getting your FTP from 200 to 250 and then riding at 65% of 250 for very long, that's a much, much better outcome. And if you were to ride at the same wattage as before, you'd be able to ride so much longer because it would be even a lower percentage of that 250. And that's that's going when John says percentages, you got to look at the actual watts and outcome and how fast you're going to go. So important.
Yeah. All ties into work. Anything else to cover on this one from anybody? Cool. Let's move on to Daryl's question. Ivy mentioned on this week's podcast that she carb loads for her cyclocross races. Daryl then says, this is my biggest issue. I'd love to know even one of the race examples. I'm guessing she sticks to same or similar meals on a race week. What exactly she eats the days leading in, morning of, etc. If she knows them, perhaps daily micros that I could figure out so that I could follow something along. It helped me figure out what I'm doing wrong if I had the days leading in to my race being able to be controlled. Some morning examples or timing or anything else could be helpful. Ivy, I don't want to make you feel like this is how every athlete should fuel. This is you sharing how you fuel, right? And but at the same time, what have you found helpful and what's your race week like? How far out from that race do you really start being specific about your nutrition? And then we'll walk through the day itself.
Yeah. Well, like we've talked about with cyclocross and shorter races before, you can't wait until the day of or the morning of, or even especially during the race to catch up. All of that work and loading has to be done beforehand when you're talking about an hour-long race. So while Daryl and I are about the same size, and I talked about kind of keeping macronutrient principles in mind, so knowing what that kind of looks like per day, but I don't really I don't count them or like count calories. So for Daryl's reference, since we're about the same size, I'm like 64-ish kilograms. And so I generally aim for at least 80 grams of protein a day and 500 or more grams of carbs. And in a race weekend, the day before a race, I'll try to do more than that. I basically I don't find that there's like anything bad that can really happen if I aim too high, right? Even if I feel like too full going into the race, by the time I warm up and get on course, like you feel fine. So anyways, the day before cross race, we usually do a pre-ride, go to the course, and I try to make sure that I have a post pre-ride meal there. Basically what I'm trying to do in the days leading into the race and the morning of, I try to prevent myself from ever feeling like I'm hungry or being hungry, like that sensation of like, it's time to eat. And then by the time I get everything together and actually eat, it can be too late. So for like a pre-ride or the day before, if you don't get to go pre-ride the course, if you're just like having a regular work day, making sure you have something like a burrito or like a burrito bowl or a sandwich on hand for that your pre-race workout, or if you pre-ride, to have immediately. So that's something I'll do. I'll take a burrito or burrito bowl to the venue. And then dinner is also something like pasta with meat sauce. So try to hit that protein goal per day, or like a stir fry with a bunch of rice and a bunch of veggies. I'll always do sides of veggies and like a side salad if I really want. So yeah, I don't skip on carbs at all. I try to exceed that 500 or more grams goal per day. And then race morning, first thing when I wake up, I have pancakes, Keegan style, just like super easy.
Alex is saying yes.
Love the pancakes. Team pancake all the way here.
So awesome. And I'll put some like yogurt and fruit on it if I feel like it. But the most important thing for race morning for me is 3 hours prior to the race, having a big serving of white rice and eggs. And I don't dress them up with like a bunch of hot sauce or anything spicy. I'll put like a little bit of soy sauce on it. But that 3 hour window, really topping off with a bunch of carbs before your race, is super important for me. And I know a lot of other athletes that do that. So that's so that's it. That's what my leading into cross race looks like.
I have questions for you, Ivy. First, when you're traveling, the white rice seems pretty easy. You could probably get white rice almost anywhere in America for sure, anywhere in the world. What do you do with the scrambled eggs? How do you get that when you travel?
Like if I were in like, you mean how do I cook it?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of athletes, they're at a hotel before a race, right?
Yeah,
especially a big race. How would I know maybe you're probably doing like homes and stuff sometimes or Airbnbs, but how do you do scrambled eggs? Does anyone do scrambled eggs or something like that if you want to cook in a hotel?
I have a tip on that.
Yeah, do you? Because I wouldn't. Now I'm at the point in my racing career where I wouldn't put myself in a racing situation where I don't have access to a kitchen, because it's almost not worth going to a race for me. If I go to a hotel and have to,
that's how important it is.
That's how important it is. I just shouldn't go if I can't.
Wow.
If I can't like maximize my performance and really like set myself up to do well, I just shouldn't bother going. You know. So I haven't stayed somewhere where I don't have access to like a skillet and like a stove to cook rice or a rice cooker or something like that. You know.
That's a really good point. Like, you know, going even before then, if you find yourself in that pinch, Nate, I've done this twice now. So sometimes your hotel room will have like a little microwave, and in that situation, they also give you coffee mugs, and these are not the best eggs, but I just take the egg and then I crack it and then I put it into the cup, and then after that I put that into the microwave, and then I've got an egg that's cooked. The other time I didn't have a microwave in there, so I went down to the front desk and I was like, do you have like a microwave in a break room? And they were like, of course we do. And then I was like, can I do something really weird and cook an egg in a mug that you gave me in my hotel room? And they let me do it. So, so those are two things that you could do.
Poached eggs.
Trader
I'm
Joe's,
sorry.
Oh no, Trader Joe's or like most grocery stores have like egg bites, like pre-cooked scrambled egg, little like pucks that you can microwave too. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Most restaurants you can pick up some scrambled eggs, or like just.
It's a good tip.
Yeah,
The
but
problem
like
is the 5 a.m.
thing that you can still ask for, right? Like you could ask the night before or something. If you're at a restaurant and when you're there, be like, hey, super weird request. Can you give me some scrambled eggs to go? And I bet that they'd be able to do it. So
yeah, and I have made the eggs in a mug. I just feel bad for the hotel staff because it is a pain in the butt to clean out.
Yes.
But if you have like a plastic fork or whatever, if you stir it up and then nuke it for a little bit and then stir it up again, and you keep doing that until it's fully cooked, like it will be really nice and fluffy. It just doesn't taste quite as good as cooking it the traditional way.
I poached eggs in a microwave with a little bit of water. You just got to make sure they don't blow up, or you put plastic over. Those are actually pretty similar. And with the white rice, you don't cook it all the way through. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. Sometimes you have remote races, right? And I've done the jet boil, like backpacking stove. Mm-hmm. Don't do this in a hotel room, so you don't do the thing. But go outside.
And it's hard to like you have to have fuel for that, and you can't fly with it, right? So it's kind of
true.
in the butt to do that sometimes. Yeah.
Yep. That's why I'm driving to California, something like that. Next question: what pancake mix?
Oh,
big deal.
Crusties.
Alex, what do you like?
Is that how you say it? Like Keegan, yeah.
Well, I have my own pancake recipe that I make at home. It took me 2 years to perfect because there's this like mom and pop joint that's just down the road from me that makes the best pancakes ever. Like they're almost like a crepe. They're super thin and like light.
Don't gatekeep, Alex.
So, I mean, my recipe's on my blog. So if you go to my website and my recipe's on there.
Alex Larson Nutrition.
And it uses, I put yogurt in it, which sounds kind of weird, but it just makes the pancake just, I don't know, it's really good. And I've really gotten into using a lemon yogurt in it. I don't know, it doesn't make the pancake taste lemon, but it just brings out a lot of the flavor in there. So yeah, it's pretty simple. And that's usually what I do. Is that recipe. I mean, my husband and I ate a lot of pancakes for a couple years. And then finally he told me like, Alex, I like these, like stop messing with the pancakes. He used a different colorful language, but he was like, just stop. I'm like, okay. So that's the recipe that I use typically. But if I would do, whatever's accessible to people, especially if they're traveling, whether it's Bisquick or Crusties or.
Yeah, but that's why I like that mix is because you only need water.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go with the Kodiak cakes just because I wouldn't be aiming for the high protein at that point. I would be aiming for the simple as like basic pancake as possible, and I would load up with the pancake syrup too.
Yes, and that's why I went to Krusty's, is because I chances are if I'm racing in the US, there's a Walmart somewhere nearby and they sell Krusty's. So that's really easy. And then it's also just as basic as they get. It's still tasty. And there's not a whole lot to it. Yeah, really good tips. Ivy, I have, Nate, I don't know if you have more questions or if I can jump in with one as well.
I want to say this. It's alexlarsennutrition.com/pancakes. Easy as that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Amazing. There we go.
That's how important it is.
Yeah. Well, I have
Yes.
a question for Ivy too. Ivy, do you usually take like a gel or something like half an hour before race start as well?
Oh, on this, like on the start line or when I'm rolling to the start line.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then you're typically racing for somewhere between, or you're typically 45 minutes to an hour. Is that right? Or 45 minutes to 75?
Yeah, it depends upon how the laps,
Yeah.
shake out.
On
somewhere
who
around
fast,
there.
depends on how fast the leader is.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because that's another good point to keep in mind. If you're the sort of person that's doing, or if you're in a category that's racing for 20 to 30 minutes for your races, then you probably don't want to take in a gel on the line, right, Ivy? Like you might want to take it in earlier than that because it's
At
not
the
going
end
to
of
kick
your warm
in.
up. Yeah, exactly.
How I think of it, Alex, I might be thinking this wrong, but I think the days before, like 2 to 3 days before, I am eating to fill up the glycogen in my muscles. The morning of, I'm eating to restore my liver glycogen, which could go down while I'm sleeping. And then that 20, 30 minutes before I start, I'm eating to put the glucose into my blood. And then I've got my
You're sparing glycogen essentially.
Yep. And I've got it all then like jacked to the max so that when I race, I have as much high explosive jet fuel possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, or if I'm doing an endurance event where it's going to be a war of attrition, like an Ironman, I have as much fuel in there as possible, starting off so that I can, try to keep it up during the race.
Yeah. The only other thing I would add in there too to consider is if it's going to be hot or humid or you're at elevation, is doing some preload with some electrolytes as well.
How do you like
Great
to do
point.
that? Usually the afternoon or day before the race, making sure that any hydration that you're consuming has got some electrolytes in it. Because I feel like with just drinking plain water, you're just triggering urine output. Whereas if you've got some electrolytes in it, you're actually going to retain it. And when you're glycogen loading, for every gram of glycogen, you're also storing almost 3 grams of water as well. So you want to make sure that you're hydrating while you're carb loading. And then the morning of the race, again, if it's going to be hot or humid, I would preload with, and depending on how salty of a sweater they are and how heavy of a sweater, I would be looking at doing a good dose of salt before the race as well.
I definitely didn't mention that because this question was more about carb loading and but I do, whether it's hot or not, I will drink a bottle of mix the morning before a bike race.
An electrolyte mix, you mean by that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. Electrolytes. Yep.
Ivy, do you find yourself weaning yourself off of like fibrous vegetables and stuff like that when you're talking about race day or day before? Or have you noticed any issues or have you not noticed issues with that?
Yeah, because my goal is to just take in as much as I can. And I find that some of those really fibrous vegetables take up a lot of space and don't actually give me everything that I need, especially from a carb standpoint. I need to make space for not just those fibrous vegetables, and they take up so much space in my stomach, and it's easy for me to fill up and then wish that I could have eaten a second serving of pasta or could have had rice pudding dessert or something,
Mm-hmm.
and instead I filled up on broccoli and an enormous salad.
Yeah.
500 grams of carb it's super filling. Like it's not as easy as people think it is. So when I see people eating like salads or like something that's like fairly high in fat or like high in protein, I'm like, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it. Like it's just tough.
Yeah.
And we're talking about. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, when I do that, I make sure to eat like the salad and the veggies are secondary. Like I don't like start with a dinner salad or something. That's like after I eat the bulk of my meal. Go ahead, Nate.
And we're talking about carb loading, not everyday nutrition, because some people will hear that and say, hey, you're saying never eat vegetables ever, like because we can't take it. That's not right.
No,
Alex.
just carb loading is a unique time. It's where you basically will throw out all of the healthy eating guidelines you've ever heard in your life, and you throw them out the window just for that temporary time because you want low fiber, you don't want a lot of veggies, you want to eat these simple carbs, because your goal is to load up glycogen. You don't want too much fiber because you don't want to have like bowel issues during a race as well.
Yeah,
And fiber
exactly.
creates bulk. And so like there's a lot of, those traditional healthy eating recommendations you hear, you don't do those during carb loads.
Yeah. And this is hopefully that's some really practical advice for Daryl. I can't think of anything else that I add. There's caffeine intake, I guess, in addition to this. Ivy, do you have anything that you you drink coffee regularly? Does that change at all when you have a race week, or do you keep that consistent?
I don't want to offer any advice on this because I'm such a caffeine addict that if I were to do anything different on a race weekend, I don't know what would happen to me. So no, I don't. I just drink a lot of coffee. I probably have like 2 or 3 cups a day.
Alex, do you ever have athletes that or what do you suggest to athletes that take in coffee somewhat regularly coming into a race week? I've heard of some people going on like caffeine fasts leading into an event, but that's not like week of sort of stuff, right?
Yeah, they'll kind of go on caffeine fast just to like give themselves a little bit more of a buzz on race day. But I find for athletes, I'm like, just do what is your normal routine, what your body's used to. And one thing too, like before a cyclocross race, if your stomach tolerates it, like doing a caffeinated gel before the race might not be a bad idea either. But keep in mind that caffeine takes about an hour to peak into your blood as well. So maybe doing something like I've tried run gum before, like that actually cuts that time in half. So it takes only about a half an hour for it to peak. So those would be some strategic ways. And usually I would time it out for the caffeine to hit you full, like to peak where you're going to be fatiguing likely. So if you're doing a longer race, like with my triathletes, I'm like, usually it's in the second half of the run. So maybe strategically use your caffeine a little bit later in the run, or, mile 80 of an Ironman where you're just like mentally in a low, being a little more strategic with that. But with the cyclocross race, I would be consuming it like doing a caffeinated gel half an hour to an hour before the race.
The gum stuff, once again, Nate, we talked about what last time, like if you want to sponsor the podcast, sponsor Ivy or whatever.
You love that run gum.
But like they should. We probably sold a ton of that stuff for them. I'm sure there's other brands. We're not endorsing a single brand.
Yeah.
That stuff has been really helpful for me. I've only found run gum at the store, and so I don't know. I can't vouch for anything else, but that's huge because I would take in a caffeinated gel and it was like a bomb in my stomach because I would never taken caffeine, right? And so then suddenly on race day, I'm doing the thing that we always tell ourselves not to, of like, try something new on race day.
It's very acidic. It can really wreak havoc on your gut if you're not used to it. So
right.
Run gum is great.
Yeah, and I don't notice that from run gum. It's just
that's
slow release, slow. Yeah.
Alex, did you just say that like for gels with caffeine are more acidic than regular gels? Is that...
Well, just caffeine itself can be kind of acidic in the gut. So it can, for some athletes, it doesn't sit well, especially if you're going to do like a caffeinated Morton gel. That's 100 milligrams of caffeine. Like that's a lot. You really need to trial that well in training if you're going to plan on using it on race day.
And that could cause heartburn, right? Like the acidity?
Yeah.
Or just distress.
Yeah, or just being upset stomach.
I tried a Science and Sport gel a few weeks ago on a ride. I tried one and I didn't think that it had caffeine in it. And I took the gel and I was like, I feel amazing. like halfway through the ride. Because remember, for me, I don't have caffeine. Then when I have it during the ride, it's like, oh my gosh. And I was like, what's in that gel? And then I saw the caffeine. And then sure enough, 30 minutes later or something on the bike, my stomach was just completely killing me. So
yeah, I've never usually done a lot of caffeine, but when I would, I'd always say like my eyes feel so open right now. That was my response.
Yeah. Alex too. And so the run gum then gets absorbed through your mouth and then it bypasses your stomach. So that's why it's better.
Yeah. Well, it's just faster. It gets into your bloodstream so much faster. You
feel that too.
You feel it pretty quick. I mean, when I used it for Grandma's Half this past year, it was like, and I'm very sensitive to caffeine. I mean, it was like almost instantaneous. I was like, whew, it was like my brain just lit up.
And did you not feel like you got dropped off a cliff with it either? Because that's one thing I've noticed with taking it through like my stomach. I feel like I'm riding high and suddenly the wave has disappeared and I'm just like left like on the beach.
Yeah. Cause it's kind of that slow intake of it too.
Yeah. It's not as intense either. Like I don't feel like I'm riding is high when I do it either. So
yeah, I was.
I love hearing you guys discuss drugs like in detail like this because it's a legal drug, but just like the high, you're high on this and this, and like how do you take it?
I mean, you definitely can go overboard. I mean, there is a legal limit with like NCAA sports and that type of stuff too. So you do need to be careful of it. But
and I've said this. Go ahead.
Oh, I literally used the word addict to describe my relationship with caffeine. So that's funny.
Exactly. And I'd say this. A lot of times we talk about caffeine because it's like the legal limit, but there's also a lethal limit. And I would never ever buy powdered caffeine because it is so easy to get your like significant digits wrong or the percentage. And you do, instead of 100 milligrams, you do 1 gram. And that is like, you do enough grams of caffeine and you will die. So please don't do that. Like, but if you do like a chewing a gum, you're never going to hit it. I think like a 300 milligrams is a really high dose for an athlete for a race. And like, so be careful. I mean, I know
usually we would calculate it by weight. Typically, and I can't remember the recommendation off the top of my head, but and
I think it's
keep in mind that and also
like
being careful with caffeine too, because it can really impact your sleep. It takes about 8 hours for it to fully leave your system. So if I have athletes that aren't sleeping well, I'm like, okay, we're going to have a cutoff time for caffeine, usually 1-2 o'clock.
It depends on how much too, right? Because if you take 800 milligrams in a race over the half-life, and you could be at midnight, you could still have 300 milligrams left, depending when you took it, and you don't sleep. And I've had that happen a lot.
Stage
and
races,
that's not good for recovery.
Yeah, and stage races, or if you're training habitually, or not training habitually, but training regularly, and then taking this in habitually with it, it can be tricky for sure. So you do have to consider it. Ivy, thanks for giving us the walkthrough on your race week.
Gold star question. By me for sure. Sounded great.
Yay.
Thanks.
Okay, Mike's question. This is a great one regarding affordability for carbs. So he says, hey coaches, big fan of the podcast and TrainerRoad. I've used TrainerRoad for about 5 years and raised my FTP from 221 to 270. That's incredible. When we're talking about speed right there, that's a huge amount of speed gain that they're gaining. Mike, if you're something like an Ironman athlete or something, that's the sort of thing that pushes you way up. 270 FTP gets you, you're qualifying at halves maybe if you got the rest of the sport, the two sports together. This past year, I have been focused on increasing my carb intake, slowly working my way to 100 carbs per hour. In order to save money, I have subscribed to Jonathan's motto of just sugar and salt. I mix table sugar and a little salt in each bottle. I'm up to 5 tablespoons of sugar, roughly 65 grams of carbs per bottle, and I pair that with a Cliff Shot, 25 grams each hour. I can't find any literature that says table sugar has negative effects or is a poor carb source, but I also don't know of anyone else who uses just table sugar. Maybe they haven't bought into the taste of speed philosophy that Jonathan has. Which, to recap, when people are like, ugh, it's so sweet. I don't like drink mix of just sugar and salt. And I say, well, that's the taste of speed. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You elected not to have speed. So can you give me the pros and cons of table sugar as a carb source during training and racing? Thanks for all the great information. I have some thoughts on this one, Alex, but can you I don't know if you've ever had athletes that have asked this question or worked with it like this?
I have not. And I typically wouldn't recommend doing table sugar. And I think you and I have talked about this too. Like, it doesn't mix well. It tends to be really rough on the gut. Like, sports products are designed for us to consume and reduce GI distress as much as possible, get it absorbed as quickly as it can, and get straight to your muscles and get used as energy. So using a table sugar, which is 50% glucose, 50% fructose. But I would, just from a stomach issue aspect, I would go with a sports fuel.
Yeah.
Or like you have a really great video on your Instagram of buying like specific, like, I don't know what they were specifically, but like in making your own mix, that would be the route that I would go versus just using table sugar.
Right. And I think that the concern shouldn't be about sugar here for making your drink mix, but where the electrolyte is coming from. And table salt might not, be as effective as something like getting food grade. What was it, like sodium citrate and potassium citrate or something,
Yeah, you want phosphorus, like there's like a bunch of there's 5 main electrolytes that you want.
Right.
And I can't think of them off the top of my head. Table sugar or table salt doesn't typically cover that, right? Like if you're just dealing with that. So
right.
it's usually sodium chloride is what you're getting there. And then, but you're not getting the other stuff.
Right.
And the chloride, I think there's
anywhere. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think that there's something that said that like basically the chloride can kind of cause issues too with the ingestion and taking in other things too. So yeah, it's tricky, and getting pure sodium is really hard to do. So keep like an eye out for that. Sometimes I see what a lot of athletes do is they get like capsules or anything else, and then they'll just put one of those capsules into their drink mix, and then that makes it so that they can get all the electrolytes. That's what I do.
You can buy electrolyte powder as a sports. Then what we did at TrainerRoad is we bought a whole bunch of different, maltodextrin, dextrin, glucose, fructose, table sugar, right, John? And we tried different bottles. And in my experience, the table sugar ruined my gut, like ruined it. And then I think, what was the best one that we liked? Maltodextrin, right?
Yeah,
with fructose, I believe.
Well, yeah, glucose and fructose. I extended beyond that and did my own stuff thereafter, and just pure glucose and fructose is what works best for my gut. I talked to Dr. Podlegar a bit on the table sugar stuff and why it messes up, and he doesn't have the exact answer, but he said that table sugar isn't often refined at the same grade at which you will have refined glucose or fructose or maltodextrin or dextrose that you'll get, like Alex said, like as an intentional sports nutrition supplement. That goes through a much higher filtering and like quality control process than what you have for just table sugar. But honestly, one of the biggest things, Alex has mentioned this on the podcast before, like if you don't eat it or if it causes an inconvenience, you're not going to take in your nutrition. And it is, Nate, isn't it such a pain? We tested a bunch of different ingredients, and some maltodextrin did not dissolve, while other maltodextrin from a different manufacturer did. And it's a pain when it doesn't dissolve. Like you have to jump through hoops.
Martan and Science and Sport, in my experience, have not dissolved, unlike the beta fuel and the Martan's big one. Pro tip here is to use like hot water when you mix it ahead of time. And I would think I would just put hot water and shake it. But thinking about it, I would do it in a bullet blender. That'd probably be a good idea with warm or hot water. It's like you're making a simple syrup, like for bartending or something like that. And then you'd store it, because we talked about storing your bottles ahead of time, right? So you could do that and kind of, or you could even make a whole jug, a container. That'd actually be pretty cool if you made a picture of this stuff to save some money ahead of time. I think once it's mixed though, it stays mixed. But yeah, it's so annoying on race morning too, to put it in there and you shake it and you have like this much clump, and then the rest is just water.
Yeah, it's a pain. I've found, so on Amazon, I think I bought probably 10 different brands of glucose and fructose. And honestly, it might change one day to the next, and I'll have to find another brand because they might change like a supplier or something. I don't know. But I've found ones that just dissolve really well, and there's zero issue. Like I can put it into an ice cold bottle with ice. I shake it, and then it's like, it's done.
Can you share those things on your Instagram?
Yeah,
on the
they're on
Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put it on TrainerRoad Instagram. And then we'll show the ones that I get, and then we do that. The price has gone up. I'll make it a reel. I have a reel on mine, but we'll make one.
Do another reel. Yeah, you can link yourself.
So, yeah, it'll be good.
I will. I want to share that too, please.
For sure. And that's like a big thing. So I've found that glucose and fructose is the best. There's either a 2-to-1 ratio, or there's a 1-to-0.8 ratio. There's evidence that shows that both are good. There's some evidence that shows that 1-to-0.8 is potentially better than 2-to-1, but it's really like try both. It's not a big deal. You can try both and see what you like best and see what works best. But within that, whenever you're getting these things, just be open to trying different stuff. Mike, I can imagine that you're dealing with like a big problem with a lot of sweetness, like Ivy said, with that sugar. It would just be overly sweet, possibly leave like really dry mouth, anything else like that. It's not very well refined. So I would urge you away from that. It's tempting because it's really cheap, but if you buy glucose and fructose in bulk quantities, it can drop the price substantially. Instead of like $4 a bottle for getting like, a product that is off the shelf, instead what you can do is you can mix it and you can make it for $1 or 80 cents a bottle, something like that, depending on what you do, and it really helps.
And maltodextrin's not sweet, so that's another great one to put in. And the money that you will save is worth more than a year of TrainerRoad. So this tip is worth a year subscription. Like, just sign up. Probably and nutrition, actually, like a nutritionist at the same time, because it is so expensive. It could be $20 a workout if you're fueling with just crazy. like a high quality, not a high quality, high branded.
I just put in a big order for a bunch of different fuel just to try, because we're going to write a blog post and review some different hydration mixes. And some of them I was like, this is like $4.50 a serving. I'm like, what? This is insane. Like that's so
per
much.
hour.
Yes, per hour. I could not, I was just blown away. So I mean, this is sometimes where I do like to have athletes play around with both some real food and some sports fuel in their training, because it trains the gut and like they're saving some money too. Like,
so eat a full dinner and run your 5K.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm saying.
You kind of potatoes.
Yeah, like
run with a brick in your stomach.
Or like, Uncrustables, or I really love like soft boiled potatoes. Those are a little bit harder to like carry on you, but like just a little change of flavor profile too can be really nice, and there's no wrapper. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice just to change it up and have different feeling options throughout training to save money and just have a change up, like I said, mentally with what you're feeling with.
One thing I want to mention too with maltodextrin, I found that maltodextrin, I tried a lot of different brands and I never found one that didn't mess up my gut. And your mileage may vary, because Nate, I remember, found like he had great results with one of the maltodextrin mixes we have. So this is another important thing, is you can vary the substrates. And that's kind of the cool part about if you are going to build your own drink mix like this, is you can try it out and see what you like, try the different ingredients. A lot of people use like Alex Wild has mentioned that he uses just the Gatorade powder. And I believe that's dextrose, I believe is what it is. I could be wrong there, but it's just really basic and also accessible. Like you can find it in a lot of places, which is really helpful. Whereas the stuff that I get, I have to buy it from Amazon. So I have to make sure I have it ahead of time. So there's a lot of pros and cons. And if something is more convenient and it works for you, then that's a win. So you should go for that. So yeah, hopefully that's some good information there. We're going to have two more questions. We're going to cover one right now on high starch resistant fuel. And then we're going to blow everybody's minds with somebody who maybe even beats Nate with his eat a full meal and 5K strategy. So Bryce says, love the podcast. Quick question. What are your thoughts on high resistance starch? The listed benefits include, among other things, and these are all words by Bryce, aiding in absorption of nutrients, which sounds helpful for cycling, maintaining healthy blood sugar levels, which I would imagine, given the very elevated levels of sugar intake associated with 90 grams of carbs per hour, some regulation there would be great. And number 3, increased good bacteria in the gut. And Bryce says it has the word good in it, so that seems helpful. Just wondering if you think there's any benefit to adding this to a nutrition program, specifically for somebody training for an endurance stage race. Thanks much. Alex, we don't really know if they're talking about like the sort of like the super starch products that you can take when you're on the bike, or just taking in high resistance starches in your daily meals. What are your thoughts?
Quite sure, but I mean, it's worth talking about high resistance starch. So, it's a type of carbohydrate. It doesn't actually get digested in the small intestines. Instead, it's like fermented in the large intestines, and so it feeds that good gut bacteria. So that's what he's talking about there. It's found naturally in things like bananas that haven't ripened too far. I know there was a post I think you guys were talking about. Which
green bananas? Point for green bananas right there.
Oh my gosh, John.
Yes.
Do you like them? Like
Ivy, they're green. Spots are bad, and if they're
no, I know,
dark,
I agree.
my
so
gosh.
I can't believe it's now we're gonna get tagged and everything again. But I thought of you. Sorry, tangent. I thought of you yesterday because I was trying to not be wasteful and ate one with spots on it and was literally retching. Like it was horrible.
Oh, they're so disgusting. Oh,
I hate it.
Spotted bananas. They should not be edible. Those go into banana bread or the freezer instantly, and you just you don't deal with them. And we discussed this, by the way, Alex, the background on a hot takes episode. Someone brought up bananas, and I've never had a wave of social like I thought that politics was divisive. The ripeness of bananas is actually how you divide the world and make it burn. So people are very upset at me for liking green bananas. Very upset, but I affirm that they're good. Now we have scientific evidence to prove.
The more green they are, the more resistant, the high resistance starch they have in them. Oats, also rice, beans, lentils, and like other legumes are really high in them. So these are foods that honestly we would naturally just recommend to be a part of everyone's like daily healthy diet, because they do have really great nutritional value. Like keep in mind too that like the cooking process does like break down that high resistance starch as well. So not to say that you need to be eating like raw oats to be getting it, but it's just something to think about too. These foods will also be known, especially like the beans and the legumes, is producing some gas and bloating. So we tend to like work with our athletes on an individual basis to just find like the right quantity and frequency that works best for their gut. But if this Bryce is asking about consuming high resistance starch while riding, like that wouldn't be something that I would typically recommend because it's going to take a lot longer to digest those foods. And we want to use really quick digestively fuel options because you don't want it sitting in the gut for long. You don't want anything fermenting while you're exercising. So that was just kind of my initial thoughts of like, I just needed a little bit of clarity, but I think it's worth also talking about those sports fuels that use those slower release carbs in their claims of it providing like steadier blood sugars.
Yeah, I see some of them are like, we have fast carb and we have slow carb. Therefore, you will have energy for the whole ride. But really, like you're just concerned with the rate at which you can take it in, the rate at which you can process it, right? And especially if you're doing something that's like, Z2 intensities and above, then, and I know that it varies widely, but even Z2 intensities for most people and above, like it's pretty easy to run yourself out of fuel really fast. So the goal wouldn't be to have like a nutrition supplement that's like, yeah, you can take it and then one bottle can last you 3 hours. Like that wouldn't be the goal. You'd want to be fueling all throughout. Isn't that right, Alex?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the most important thing is like, how are you feeling? If you have, like thinking of like a athlete who maybe, and I'm thinking of one specifically that did like, we have a race up here in Minnesota called the Arrowhead 135. It's done in Ely, Minnesota in the middle of winter, like end of January. It's freezing cold. So like, it's not easy to be constantly accessing your fuel and your hydration. So like with that type of thing, if it is going to be a slower release of carbs, that might actually be a really good option for those types of situations. But if you're someone that's got a hydration mix and you're drinking every 10, 15 minutes and getting a steady supply, then it's not as big of a deal to have the slower release in my mind. Cool.
All right. Last question from Jay. Says, I need help with nutrition for Unbound, 200-mile gravel race in Kansas, for those that don't know. I'm a 5-time Unbound 200 finisher. That's impressive. And for some silly reason, despite having achieved my goal of getting the 1,000 miles of Kansas Chalice, I agreed to go back again this year with some buddies. The last 2 years, despite meticulous planning, my nutrition has failed me, almost preventing me from finishing. My goal this year is to beat the sunset. That's a common goal for people because of when it starts. And then if you can beat the sunset, I can't remember the exact time cutoff. I want to say that's somewhere around like 12 hours. Perhaps it's longer. Let me know in the comments if I messed that one up and let me know exactly what it is. And if you're watching on YouTube, give this a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have lots of great video content coming. So here is perhaps more info than you want. In 2017, I was a novice. And this is where things get wild, Nate. Solid food, no liquid nutrition. I packed 20 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I only ate 10. At the halfway point, I could not imagine eating any more peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, so I ate a Subway Italian sandwich and bars the rest of the way. It was a hot day, no issues. This guy...
That's a lot of fat, right? The peanut butter? That's a lot of fat for that race. That would be tough to digest.
The Italian sub?
Where do you carry
so much.
Probably at an aid station, I bet. Somebody was like, hey.
Just like... Well, he says he packed. So he brought 20 peanut butter. Like the guy must have been wearing a huge backpack. I don't know where he would even pack.
Like a frame bag or something.
Yeah. He must have a big frame.
Seems like a lot of weight too. I'd put those at aid stations, some of them.
Yeah. And then how in the world could anybody, like, I can't imagine a more like vomit-inducing food than eating, other than spotted bananas, but than eating a Subway Italian sandwich midway through a hot
I would love that.
Kansas humid day and carrying on with Unbound.
That. Salty meats and cheese. Oh my God.
I mean,
so
yeah,
good.
salt. Oh my
it.
God. Brutal. In 2018, had a mix of bars, blocks, and gels later in the event. Had a few bananas and sandwiches for variety. No significant liquid nutrition. It was a hot day, no issues. 2019, I decided to move to liquid nutrition. I used Hammer chocolate as it was 95 degrees. I did not want 95-degree chocolate. So I put 4 times concentrated mix in my bottles and water in my pack. I would take a sip of nutrition, then a big gulp of plain water. So he had this really concentrated mix and he was taking in water to try to dilute it. It was a very hot day. My buddies razzed me about drinking 95-degree chocolate pudding, but had no issues. In 2021, I trained with liquid nutrition. I switched to Tailwind. I did their naked Tailwind mix, which is a non-flavored one. And then flavored Tailwind at recommended concentrations with occasional foods such as bananas and blocks. It was hot. At mile 156, I was bonking terribly, suffered on, and at mile 200, a few miles from the end, I vomited my entire stomach contents, even saw the rice bar I ate in the morning. I limped to the end, was severely dehydrated, and lost 14 pounds, mentioning that they weigh 195 pounds. In 2022, I trained with liquid nutrition again. I used Tailwind and Ted's Maple Aid. It was not hot. I felt good until mile 168, where I vomited my entire stomach contents again, limped in the last 32 miles, completely bonked. P.S. I sweat a ton and have taken salt lick pills in specific measured amounts all 5 years. And then P.P.S. I trained base and then FTP and endurance for the 5 months before Bound, usually getting 3,000 miles and a number of centuries where I can do some nutrition plan, or the same nutrition plan as on race day. So any suggestions? So it doesn't sound like he follows a TrainerRoad plan here. It sounds like what they're doing is taking in this nutrition and has some opportunities to check it out. Alex, what stands out to you? What are the red
dehydration
flags?
for sure. Losing 14 pounds at the 2021 race, knowing that he's a heavy sweater, likely losing a lot of electrolytes. And as I mentioned earlier, like when you get hot, that digestive system slows down. So him seeing that rice bar from earlier, obviously nothing's moving because he's probably going out too hard in the heat. His heart rate's too high. Nothing's moving along. Even if it's Tailwind, like that is where I would start. Is I would get the hydration on, like, dialed in, the electrolytes dialed in, because once you get dehydrated, it's game over, like, for fueling. So that's where I would start, is investigating how much fluids he's actually losing per hour in that type of heat, what he's losing for electrolytes, and then making sure, like, working with his coach too, if he has a coach or whatever program, to that he's going out in an effort that he's been training at as well, and he's not going out super hard, and reckon with his gut mobility there.
Yeah, Ivy, have you, like, when you've had situations like this where you bonk or, heaven forbid, vomit your stomach contents, like we've heard a couple times from this, in every situation where I've had something like that, it's always been because I'm dehydrated, even though it's tempting to blame the nutrition because that's what I'm thinking about, what I put in my gut. Is it the same for you?
Yep. I don't have much to contribute because that's exactly what I've observed and acknowledged when I get to that point. Almost always hydration.
And Nate, that was the same thing for you at Leadville when you blew to pieces. What do you think it was? Hydration? Dehydration, I should say.
Yes, actually, yes, because I had this like pack of hot Martan, and I just carried up power line and then threw it to the side. I actually gave it to a 12-year-old.
Who gave that to you? Sorry. We didn't put enough ice in the cooler, and it got hotter than we thought. So, yeah.
I think I know what's going on. This is my guess. So they did well all those previous years. Then they did Hammer, I'm guessing Perpetuum, which is maltodextrin inside of that. And then the 2 years that they did poor, they did Tailwind. And it's not necessarily like Tailwind's a bad product, but that is dextrose. And saying that they threw up, like so many hours later, and they could still see some of the stomach contents from the beginning, I'm thinking this person does not handle dextrose very well at all in their stomach, and it's preventing absorption of other stuff, and they're just getting worse and worse and worse. And I would probably try in training getting away from something that has dextrose and maybe going back to, maltodextrin or what was Hammer again? Hammer is maltodextrin. So maybe that is something that would work. And it could be as simple as that. Like John doesn't like maltodextrin. I do. Some people don't like dextrin, and it's individual. Right? There's some individuality in all of this.
Individual. Well, and here's the other thought I had too. So when he was eating all those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, like I can't imagine the thirst that you would have from consuming that much. So he probably was just naturally consuming a lot more fluids just because it made him so thirsty to get those down. And then when you're drinking liquid nutrition, you're constantly like sipping on that. You might not still be getting enough, even though you're consuming your nutrition through liquid. So that could be a factor too, is I would look at what you said, Nate, about switching to a maltodextrin based liquid nutrition, but also like how much are you actually taking in per hour? Is it enough?
I'm going to add another layer because typically it's not just one thing, right? It's in most cases, if there's an issue, it's a result of multiple things. And the thing that I want to say here is that you were a novice in 2017. You may have just been cruising, like getting through it. And later on now, you've done it all these years, you've been training, you might be pushing way harder too. And suddenly, if you're pushing harder, like a higher percentage of your FTP for that day, peanut butter and jellies and Subway Italian subs might not work anymore, right? And suddenly, if you're pushing really hard, you do have to, like Nate said, chase down optimal nutrition or more optimal than what you had before. So like as the intensity increases, typically what you can take in, that bandwidth also decreases. Like the gate narrows a bit in terms of what you can take in. So that could be the case. You're probably just going faster and then working harder. And as a result, you need to experiment a bit more, like Nate said, and figure things out. The one thing you mentioned that I train based in FTP and endurance in 5 months before Unbound, and I usually get 3,000 miles and a number of centuries where I can do the same nutrition plan as on race day. I'd recommend not just doing it on centuries. I'd recommend doing it with like all your training. Look at every time you train as an opportunity to test. And if you're doing that, that will help so that you can really figure things out on the small scale. So then when you get to those centuries that you're going to do beforehand, you can test something with a whole lot more information and move on from in those situations. It's tough if you're kind of just like, it's whatever. And then I know I'm not saying this is the case for you, Jay, but I know a lot of athletes that do this is they don't consider like an hour workout or a 2-hour workout something they need to fuel. And so then suddenly they might test out on other days and it's too late and it's too much of a big stage for you to figure that stuff out. It's way easier to figure it out on a smaller scale.
Also, a century is so much different than a 200-mile Unbound. And the gut distress that you would have, I mean, 3 times as long as a century, like if it's a road century, even gravel, because the gravel out there is insane. I would not say that because it works for a century, it'll necessarily work for Unbound. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Experiment.
Yeah, if you're doing, because you're doing a century in probably 4 to 5 hours, somewhere around there, and suddenly you're doing an event that's going to be 13 to 15 hours. With your gut, you can figure a decent amount of stuff out, but you can start small and just work your way up and figure things out on just your training days. Cool. Alex, thanks for thanks for joining us, bringing tons of info. It's awesome.
Amazing.
Yes. I will come back anytime. This is honestly so fun. Like I love my job and this is just one of those things that I love getting to do.
Sweet. If you're listening to this, go check out Alex Larson Nutrition. Find her on Instagram. She does awesome reels. You'll love them. They're hilarious. Follow TrainerRoad on Instagram. We're going to have tons of stuff coming out. And if you aren't checking it out and subscribed on YouTube, you absolutely should. Share the podcast with your friends and rate it. All of that hopefully helps people sign up for TrainerRoad, which helps us create more great things. And it's really exciting times for us. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.